everybody, it's Christina. Today I wanted to share with you how to make this box. It is about 3 1/4 inch square box. The actual bottom part of the box is about a little bit over 2 inches, and I made a little lid, and I had to rework the measurements a little bit because the little lid is a little bit too big on this one, but this was just my sample. I used some black cardstock with some Witch's Brew Designer Series paper along with the Halloween Bash stamp set, and then added some of the Stampin' Up seam binding. So today I'm just going to show you how to put the box together. So we're going to start off with our scoreboard, and what I did with my scoreboard is it comes with these 3 little notches right here, and with those what I did was I marked the places that I'm going to be scoring for this project. So I'm going to start off with my Designer Series paper. And this piece measures 6 5/8 by 6 5/8, and it is the lid to our box. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to do my score lines on all 4 sides at 3 1/4 and 1 5/8. So I'm going to do 3 1/4, 1 5/8, and then I'm going to turn it around and do the 3 1/4 by 1 5/8 again. And then I'll just do the other 2 sides. The next thing we're going to do is a little bit of trimming. Now I'm going to be cutting on the score line here. This is the 3 1/4 inch score line, and this is the 1 5/8. So I'm going to cut on the 3 1/4 inch down to the second score line. So going across is the 3 1/4 and the 1 5/8. And then I'm going to do the same thing on my second one, which is the 1 5/8 mark. And then what I'll do is for this first piece right here, I'm just going to cut this right off at the score line. And then the second one, I'm going to cut off on the top score line. So you're going to end up with creating a section just like this. So I'll do it one more time on this side. So we'll do the 1 5/8 mark right down to the second score line and the 3 1/4 inch mark. Then we cut off the tabs completely from the first cut, and then for this one we just cut on the first score line. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other 2 sides of this, and then I'll show you how to put it together. Okay, so I did all of my cutting, and now what I'm doing is taking these little tabs right here where we did our cutting, and I'm just cutting these at a little bit of an angle down into the corner of the score line. And I did that on all 4 tabs. This just makes it easier when I'm folding my boxes for these tabs to tuck in better. The next thing we're going to do is do all of our folding on our score lines. Alright, so we have all of my score lines folded. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add some adhesive on all 4 of these tabs. And you would want to use something a little stronger than the snail adhesive. I'm just using this because it's easier for the video, but you want to use something like your ATG gun or your sticky strip or your score tape. And then what you're going to do next is turn this over, and we want to make sure these tabs are actually kind of poking up, so when we turn it over they don't get stuck to the surface of your desk. And now what I'm going to do is run a strip of adhesive right along all of these 4 little ends here. Just like that. So the next thing I'm going to do is start putting our box lid together, and I'm going to take my little tabs and I'm going to stick it to the inside of my box. So I'm using it on the bottom half of that score line there. And then you want to make sure you're lining it up nicely on the outside. So we're going to do that with all 4 of the tabs. So I'm just folding in the tab and folding up the side and then sticking it to the inside of my box. Alright, so that takes care of that. The other thing you're going to do now is you're going to go ahead and start folding in these little flaps on the top here. So these are our second score lines. So that's why I like to trim off those little tabs so that they're at an angle more, because then they won't get in the way of folding over our top pieces here. So what you could do next is you could actually line the lid if you wanted to with a piece of pattern paper. I'm okay with, you know, it being that you can see the little skull there, but folding over those flaps you don't see those little tabs now. So that is our box top. Let's go ahead and do the bottom. So for the bottom of our box, we're going to use a piece of cardstock, which is 7 5/8 square. And we're going to do all of our scoring now, this time just on the 2 1/8 section. So we're going to do scoring on all 4 sides of this one at 2 1/8. Then for this one, we're going to go ahead and do our cutting just like we did on our first one. And we're going to cut these at each of these sections. So we're just going to do this section here, and then do this tab here. Then we're going to turn our paper, or cardstock rather, and cut on the other side. So we're cutting right on the opposite side of the first cuts that we did. And then again, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of angle cutting. So these are our tabs that go in the inside. So I'm going to cut these all at an angle. So I cut all my tabs and I started to do my folding on my score lines. I'm just getting out my bone folder here. So we're going to fold in all of our scores. Just like that. Now the one thing that we need to do is I want to cut these tabs on the side a little bit shorter, because when we fold them in, they'll overlap on the inside. Not that it really makes much of a difference, but it just looks nicer if we just cut them down a little bit. So I'm going to take my paper trimmer and I'm going to fold in this middle piece right here, and I'm going to cut off these 2 outside tabs at about 1/2 inch. So I'm going to cut off 1/2 inch of these. So I just have it lined up on this side of my trimmer at 1/2 inch, and I cut off both of those tabs. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to fold this in. I'm going to put my paper into my trimmer and cut it off at 1/2 inch. So the next thing I want to do is on the outside of my box, I'm going to add my adhesive. Again, you want to use a little bit of a stronger adhesive than a snail or a tape runner. And then we'll go ahead, this bottom part of the box is super easy. You just fold in your tabs and line up the corners. Just like that. So super simple box for the bottom. That's our lid that goes with our box. And if you have any questions, just let me know. And here's the one I did with the decorated for Halloween. So thanks for watching, and I'll see everybody next time.